What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Activision Blizzard deal because it sounds like it just got blocked. The Federal Trade Commission here in the United States has just put a huge brake pedal on this $70 billion deal. Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard to obviously get access to stuff like Diablo 4, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and the most profitable franchise in the universe, Call of Duty. Well, the FTC has straight up decided to sue Microsoft to stop it from going through. But let's take a look at the official wording of it. Hope you're having a great day. If you could subscribe and like this video. I'm currently incredibly sick. I'm sorry my voice sounds a bit funny, but here we go. Breaking news. The United States FTC is filing a lawsuit to block Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. This was first reported by the Washington Post. Microsoft has shown that it can and will withhold content from its gaming rivals. Today we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. Now, part of what's interesting about this is, to me, it does, this is technically correct. Microsoft has bought stuff in the past and made it exclusive. But so has Sony, so has Nintendo. Other people have definitely done this. I think it's mostly the scope of this. Call of Duty is just so big. This is technically the biggest independent game studio on the planet, in that nobody owns Activision except Activision. Now, what's interesting about this is just a couple days ago, there was this weird official statement that Microsoft released that said if they can get this deal to go through, they're going to start putting Call of Duty games on the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever comes next. They said for the next 10 years, we're going to put every Call of Duty game we can onto the Nintendo consoles. And when I heard that, what it sounded like to me is that Microsoft is desperate. I don't mean that in the negative sense. I'm not saying that they're desperate because they're like super weak. I mean that in that Microsoft wants this $70 billion deal to go through no matter what. And by making public concessions, by promising that all these games are going to come to PlayStation, by promising these games are going to come to, obviously, Nintendo, it's them trying to scare off the FTC. They're trying to tell the FTC to screw themselves before this actually happened. And it still ended up blowing up in their faces. Now, what's interesting to me is that the biggest issue, so this is Charlie Intel. Charlie Intel is actually a Call of Duty Twitter account, but they've been covering this whole legal mess very closely. The biggest issue now is this long court process will take the FTC a while. Microsoft and Activision Blizzard have till June 2023 to close this deal. If not, the deal must be renegotiated, and I don't think that this will be settled in court by then. Essentially, because of this legal deadline, if they do not have this thing completely finished, completely bought and paid for by June, if it's still tied up in these big acquisition procedures, all these legal cases, they're going to have to renegotiate it, maybe coming up with a different price. And if that happens, most likely the entire deal is just going to fall apart. I mean, in my opinion, from what I've seen in the past of acquisitions and mergers and stuff like that, if your company gets tied up for years and years and years, it hurts your stock price, it hurts your company, it hurts your production cycle. It makes sense that if they don't completely seal the deal on this here in the next, 8 months, it's going to totally liquidate, in my opinion. But here's what's interesting is everybody is now releasing statements. Here's the full FTC, the intention to sue to block Microsoft's acquisition. Microsoft bought Bethesda, and then they decided to make Bethesda games exclusive and states they could do it again with Activision Blizzard. So it's interesting that the Federal Trade Commission seems very afraid of the power of exclusives. Now, there's been a lot of debate inside the gaming industry as to whether or not exclusives really are that big of a deal. You know, times where somebody releasing one big giant game, how much does it actually sell consoles? I mean, I guess a prime example, something like Pokemon or something like Final Fantasy is now second party exclusive to Sony consoles. How many PlayStations or how many Nintendo Switches is that actually selling? The numbers on that are hard to address, but in my opinion, it does seem like exclusives matter, and it seems like the FTC is saying that exclusive Call of Duty is just too powerful to even compete with. Now, what's interesting to me is that right here, people keep bringing up ridiculous points. Since this keeps coming up, Sony paying Activision to get exclusive content in Call of Duty is not the same thing as Microsoft taking 100% ownership of the entire IP and franchise. Sony paying for exclusive content is stupid, but Sony cannot dictate the entire direction of the intellectual property. One of the things that Sony has been doing a lot over the course of the last 10 years, which has been incredibly successful for them, is buying marketing deals, saying, okay, we'll put best on PlayStation at the end of your commercials, or if you're making something like Call of Duty, we want the earliest beta, we want to have exclusive maps and stuff like that. But as good as those deals have been for Sony, that's very different than straight up buying it for $70 billion. The FTC is directly stating that one of their key reasons in issuing the block is how Microsoft handled the Bethesda deal. They said that keep games multi-platform, then change their minds after. Interesting. Wow, this is an official statement by the FTC. The agency notes that Microsoft decided to make several of Bethesda's titles, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, despite assurances that it had given to European antitrust authorities that they had no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. Now, this is some very strong phrasing here. It's basically they're saying, why would we hold back? We're Xbox. We want to sell games everywhere. And then they did make stuff exclusive later. Wow, this is very interesting. Microsoft's statement on the FTC lawsuit. Microsoft responds with, while we believe in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity to present our case in court. Interesting. We have committed since day one to addressing the competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposed concessions to the FTC. While we believed in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence. That's interesting. While they're literally saying they're going to go to war. Now, I want to make it clear. Other people have been talking about this. Here's the FTC board basically saying that, hey, this is overstepping their bounds. This is like, this lady is being paid to obviously defend Activision and Microsoft. No hate on her. She's trying to do her job. But the FTC has tried to sue people in the past. The FTC has blocked deals in the short term that ended up going through. In 2002, there was even a big merger that was blocked by by Microsoft, where Microsoft was trying to buy somebody and it got blocked for like a year by the FTC, and it did eventually get completed and they were purchased. I think this deal is still going to be finished, maybe, but man, this is interesting. This is so gooey. I mean, I've never seen such a big sloppy case ever. I mean, straight up $70 billion on the line, and it's just kind of falling apart. But what can you do? I'm interested in this case. It's crazy to watch it just go back and forth, but what do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Okay, I'm going to try and save my voice. The Game Awards is tonight. I'm going to be watching it, but I can't stream it because honestly, my throat hurts so bad it's hard to talk. But Game Awards, and I'll make a video of it afterward. Love you guys.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.